Welcome to the Catholic Midlife Podcast, where we're addressing the challenges and the opportunities of midlife from a uniquely Catholic perspective. Join us each week as we spark a midlife renewal and create a firm foundation for the next wonderful, exciting, awesome season of life.
Hello and welcome to the Catholic Midlife Podcast. It is great to be here with you. I'm Curtis. I'm here with my fellow host, Karen.
Hi, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Here
Woo-hoo.
we are in 2023. I'm ready. How about you?
Oh, my goodness. Bring it on.
Bring it on. This is a great start to our new year, and we're just very excited to be with you here in January. So, Curtis, one of the things that came out of our recent self-compassion course, the one for women, that we all sort of realized as we were going through the course is that self-compassion is a lot like learning a new language. It's rewiring kind of that internal communication that we have with ourselves. And a lot of us, I think, we understand communication in many ways with others. And we don't always get it when it comes to how we're communicating with ourselves. So that was a great insight, and we capped off a great course. We're starting up soon our January self-compassion courses. So any of you listeners, if you're interested, just check out thecatholicmidlife.com.
Thanks, Karen. So speaking of New Year's,
Yes.
What are your New Year's resolutions, dare I ask?
Ooh, the big question. Well, here I am, right? The coach, and I have not yet set my New Year's resolutions, I'll be honest. But part of that is good because I know what it takes to set a good New Year's goal, and it's not as easy as we think.
Well, the expectation generally is that most of those resolutions, well, they kind of start off and then they rapidly kind of do.
That's right. And what's the number? I can't remember. Something like 5% of
Yeah, that's the number you were quoting.
Yeah. So odds are when we set the New Year's goals that we actually will not reach them.
So why is that? Why is it we don't achieve all those New Year's goals?
It's the question we'd all like to have answered.
What's the question?
Why can't I achieve this goal?
What's the answer, I mean?
The answer. Well, there's a lot of reasons. So the specific reason why you particularly cannot reach a specific goal, that could be one of many reasons. And
she said, pointing at me.
Yes. I was pointing at you. Sorry about that. Well, but for example, we don't always set the right goals. And when we set them, we don't always have a clear sense of what it will actually be like to achieve them or what it means to achieve them. Also, we have a bunch of unspoken goals that we're already working on, consciously and unconsciously. And those can take priority without us even realizing it. So we may not even appreciate all the goals we're already working on that are operating for us. So this is our season, guys. We're going to spend a few episodes on goals, looking at why don't we achieve our goals? What are some really parts of the process we want to keep in mind? And how can we get what we want in a positive way?
Yeah, set the right goals, use the right process, and get what we want.
Exactly.
And now think about everybody here, think about what's your approach to achieving a goal typically? If you're like many of us, most of us, you've got a goal in mind, and then you're thinking, okay, well, here's the next thing. This is what I got to do. Here's the first step, and I'm gonna just do it. And you might throw in a couple, I got this.
Sure. Some affirmation, some willpower, self-motivation.
Yeah, that's our basic recipe, is willpower plus some affirmations maybe. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, often it hasn't worked for us. And all of us have some areas that are kind of goal resistant.
That's true. That's true. And one of the things I think we don't appreciate is, there's kind of this external process to goal achievement, this external reality. And this is what we normally think of, right? Why I decide on the goal and then I think about what I need to do to get there. And then, as you were saying, I motivate myself to take these actions.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to make a list of the steps and the resources and get going.
Yeah, put it on my calendar.
Get pumped up.
Sure. What we don't always appreciate is the internal reality of goal setting and goal achievement. So that's what we want to focus on in this first episode, is the hidden goals you already have and that are already driving your behavior, because sometimes these are not going to support the external conscious goals that you set.
Karen, I really agree. I think, for example, we all kind of set these goals and, well, some of them we do pretty well, but many of them kind of sit around. We don't really get anywhere, or we might even try really hard, but then we wonder, oh, well, how come I'm not motivated? What does it take? I'm a professional. I'm an adult. I'm a midlife, whatever. Why can't I find my motivation? Or we're getting distracted. We don't do the action. And it's simply that there's so much more to the goals than we realize. And there's so much more to them before we even set them consciously.
Exactly. Good. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the hidden goals that are going on that we may not even realize are going on.
Well, first off, the unconscious mind, I think we all appreciate that it has a lot of unconscious goals that are really basic. Things like keeping us safe, keeping us secure, grabbing the piece of toast before it hits butter face down on the floor. I mean, you find yourself grabbing for it, right? Before you even know what's happening. Shelter, relationships. Oh my.
Those are huge. We can have a lot of goals around relationships.
And that it can include relationships directly with other people, but also social connection things like getting a little respect, having some validation in our circumstances, having a sense of connection.
Feeling a part of the community.
Yeah, being affirmed as being part of the group. That's survival 101 for, the hunter-gatherer, which shapes so much of our unconscious mind.
Those are huge. We can also have a lot of hidden goals around our values. So what is important to us on the unconscious level is going to drive a lot of our choices and our behaviors. And so if we're not making conscious goals that are aligned with what our values are working on, we're going to experience a lot of frustration and a lot of difficulty in getting to those goals that we're setting.
And I'm thinking of just a story about a teenager. And here's a young man, and he's decided he's going to go off and puff a few Marlboros, because there's a couple of his peers that do that. And
sure, and it's the 70s.
It's the 70s.
That's what people are doing.
So it's still cool, the 70s. And so he's looking for what are the unconscious drivers? I mean, consciously he probably realizes, I'm just trying to fit in. Oh, well. But unconsciously, he's at an age where he's trying to get a little separation from authority figures, maybe the culture that's sending him signals, his family.
Sure, maybe he has some social anxiety, and it's something to do with your hands.
Yeah.
It's something to be doing that.
Yeah, it's an activity.
Sure.
There's some bonding. So there's all these things involved, and it's largely unconscious in that situation. And then, of course, fast forward 20 years, and that young-ish man now is trying to quit smoking because he has some health goals, some conscious health goals. But with all these kinds of habits like that and addictions, especially, the first question really is, well, what is the need that it's filling for me? What are the unconscious goals that I'm accomplishing through this habit?
I think you've hit right there, Curtis, on a super important question, because we don't always realize it, but everything we do, every behavior has underneath it some kind of positive intention for some kind of goal. So whatever you're doing, you've got some goals underneath there that you're trying to get to. And now you may not be getting to them in the best, most efficient, most healthy way, but there's a driver there. There's a goal.
So pretty quickly, we realize we have a lot of hidden goals, and we're already working on them. We don't even realize it. I'm thinking of a young woman, a young professional. Really, she had her first promotion. She's thinking about moving her apartment. And for her, living in a certain part of town relative to her workplace, that is success for her. And really, it's more than is probably prudent for her to spend, but she's really attracted to that area because in her mind, being successful means this is the area where I'm living, and she can do all the comparison shopping. She can look at her budget. She can create a lot of reasons. But in her situation, it's really all about having arrived and having the thing.
And feeling successful, it sounds like.
And feeling successful. Not that that's necessarily a bad choice for her, but wouldn't it be better if it were a conscious choice and she could think about all those things that she wanted to accomplish in her new location?
Yeah, and even questions like, well, I have this goal of success, so what does success really mean to me? What do I want it to mean to me? And what can I choose to feel successful about? So we can get really trapped in wanting particular emotions and connecting certain realities to those emotions. In fact, I would even say we can have emotions as a whole category of hidden goals, both emotions we want or emotions we want to avoid.
Oh, I have a long list of emotions I want to avoid.
I know.
Oh, man.
Well,
Can I achieve those goals, please? Can you help me achieve?
Goals?
Yes.
Well, we could talk about avoidance goals sometimes and how to shift those. But what's in my brain is just working with so many people who have this unconscious hidden goal of, say, avoiding guilt. They want to avoid feeling guilty. And there's a lot that some of us will do to avoid this feeling of guilt.
Well, a classic example is overindulging a child, perhaps in their late teen years, because you feel like you ignored them for some period of their younger life. And the thought is, oh, well, if I kind of spoil them now, it's going to make up for that. But what's happening is your whole decision-making process is getting skewed. And it's really not addressing the guilt. It's not going to, I don't think that's going to be a very effective plan for most of us.
It's not the best plan. It can be a big unconscious driver, though. And I think, as you mentioned, working with our young adult kids, that guilt can come up in a lot of different places. And we can make a lot of different choices just to avoid that guilt.
Yeah, I agree. So we've worked a lot in this area, and I guess we don't want to get too into it, but I can't resist adding. Sometimes that guilt can really start to burden the relationship, and there's a reason then to deal with it as best you can, so that it's not spilling into everybody around you and being counterproductive. So, what looks like kind of a self-indulgent fixing my own problems. So often in relationships, if we can fix our own problems, that's the most helpful thing we could do for those around us.
For the relationships, exactly. I totally agree.
How about values? How about an example or two around values and how values can be big unconscious drivers?
Sure. So let's see. So let's say you have a value of connection with others. That's going to be a goal that's always operating in the background for you. So it's always there. You're always seeking it because that's really important to you in a lot of situations. And sometimes a great question to ask yourself is, well, what am I trying to get here in this situation? What's the value I'm trying to honor? And if you can name that for yourself, it really gives a lot of new insight into why you're doing the things you do and what you're pursuing in that situation. And also can explain why, if you're not getting it somewhere, why that's so frustrating. So here's an example I've seen in a number of relationships I have is there's a person who's really, really prioritizing collaboration. So they have a great value of collaboration. It's really important to them that everybody's voice is heard. And they just sort of automatically are going to pursue that goal in each environment they're in, to seek out everyone's voice, to bring them to the table, to encourage collaboration and everybody pitching in and having a voice. So they're going to make choices towards that goal. And that's going to be operating for them, whatever conscious goals they're setting.
And so that person that values collaboration, guess who they're going to be paired with? The person that values efficiency.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's going to be challenging on both fronts.
And it just shows how different values can lead to, well, conflicts. And all these unconscious goals start to compete with each other.
It's true. So, I have a funny story about efficiency.
Sure.
So I was talking with our son recently, and I don't know how we got on the topic. I think it was, he said, I'm off at college. I started drinking all this coffee, and I like coffee. I kind of like good coffee. Then he says, remember when Dad had that instant coffee phase, and he would just get up and make that disgusting instant coffee. I can't believe he drank that stuff. And I said something like, well, Dad can put up with a lot if it means less energy, less effort, and more efficiency. And the kid said, well, actually, I'm kind of a lot like that in other areas, maybe just not in the coffee area.
The instant coffee, that was just brutally efficient. You're trying to optimize your time out the door. The trick is to put enough stevia in there.
Oh, so you had another trick. So you do really have some kind of a goal of taste as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those early morning time is valuable when I get out the door. So Karen, here's another way to get at this whole unconscious thing. And most of us are familiar with personality tests, Myers-Briggs. There's
Sure.
the DISC test, which is a good one, which is a kind of more of a work style test. And so DISC, I is for influencer, and people that have a lot of this trait. Those are your people-oriented people. They're really motivated, connecting with others. They're warm, they're welcoming. They're the ones that tend to be the politicians in the group in a good way.
Yeah.
So you want them on your team to sell the project or to rope in help from your laterals, your peers that don't have to help you.
It's a great skill.
So that the kind of values underlying that, those tend to be your connecting people. They have a lot of value in that. Contrast this with a different style, say the conscientious style. That's the C in DISC. And these are people that are more cautious, they're skeptical, they're detail oriented. They want to have all the research done. They want to pin everything down. They like stability.
Who wouldn't like that? Who wouldn't want to be a person like that?
Yeah, they want to check every single detail.
I know.
Oh,
sorry.
The minutes and max. and so they have a real value though over getting to the bottom of things and being thorough, and it's just a different approach. However, it's really driving them. And I'm really struck by, in lawyer land, there were some of these personalities around, and it's really hard for them to comprehend any other styles or values. And the conflicts that this led to could be, pretty dramatic.
I think what you're saying is a great point, Curtis, because we operate so unconsciously out of these hidden goals that we are just in automatic mode. And part of the reason why it's so helpful to pull out the hidden goals is it may or may not be most appropriate in your current situation to try to maximize those goals. But we don't stop to think about that because we just have our automatic patterns and they're our go-tos, and we feel strongly about them generally, so we apply them everywhere. And sometimes our hidden goals will serve us in what we want and where we want to get to. And sometimes they won't. And we have to be able to make that decision. Is this the right kind of goal for what I'm consciously trying to achieve? And sometimes yes, and sometimes no.
Yeah, so in the context of goal setting, then this is all part of getting ready, of getting your hands around the unconscious drivers.
Sure, what's already operating for you.
What's going to come into play and be important.
Mm-hmm. Curtis, before we close up here, I do want to make a last point about the kinds of hidden goals that come from our beliefs about ourselves. So we all have this list of things we believe or want to believe about ourselves. And when you have a belief about yourself, your unconscious considers this a goal. Okay, I want to say that again. If you have a belief about yourself, you unconsciously have a goal to support that belief.
Our unconscious minds want to make our beliefs true.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we talked about that when we did our season on the unconscious mind, that part of its job is to support and make a reality what we believe.
And think about this for a minute. It's so important for us to understand our limitations. Like, can I jump down that flight of stairs? Can I lift that box of stuff? All of this understanding, all these beliefs about us are really important for us to get through the day.
Sure. They're all about keeping us safe, surviving, making things work for us in this life. So they're meant to serve us. And depending on the belief, it may or may not be a good goal for us to have. So here's just an example. Let's say I really am invested in believing that I am a kind person. And really, I want to feel like I am a kind person and think of myself that way. So that's going to create a whole lot of set of hidden goals around keeping up this self-image and choosing behaviors that are in line with thinking of myself as a kind person. And this isn't the same really as having a value of kindness that I've defined for myself and I can measure what it means, because there's a lot of things that could be healthy or unhealthy about what makes me feel like I'm being a kind person. It could support me in certain behaviors, but it might keep me from setting boundaries I need to set, because when I do that, I just don't feel like a kind person. It might keep me from saying no when I ought to say no based on my other priorities, because, well, then I won't feel like I'm a kind person.
Karen, that's a great story. We talked about New Year's resolutions, which tend to run along the lines of losing weight,
drinking more water.
So what is kindness or something like that? What has that got to do with weight or some kind of big external tangible goal?
Yeah. Yeah. The conscious goals we're setting at this time. Okay. So, here's an example. Knew this guy, and for many years he was overweight, and he kept setting these weight loss goals about, exercising, doing the diet, losing the weight. But he had this hidden goal of, gosh, I want people to like me for who I am and not what I look like. And at some point in his life, this had become an unconscious goal for him. And he had connected it with losing weight. So he basically, couldn't really buy in with all of himself to lose the weight, because if he was overweight, well, he would know people like him for who he is and not what he looks like.
Curious. It's curious how all these things are so personal, right?
Yes.
If anybody out there wants to like me for the way I look, that's just fine. Don't hold back. It's no problem. I won't internalize it.
Feel free to like him. Yes.
That's right. Well, we're always operating with a goal. That's something that really came to me as we were discussing this. I think sometimes we have these really vague goals.
Right.
And they're kind of troubling. There's something bothering us. We're dissatisfied. And what is it? And it's not obvious. When we can start to bring that to light, however, we can start to create some conscious goals that are going to help address that or help us move closer to that thing that we're trying to reach for. And these could be in any area of life, in spiritual, mental, emotional, relational, environment.
Work even.
Work, home, health, leisure, all those things.
Yeah, yeah. So next time we're going to talk about how to set the right goal and some of the things that you need to have in a good goal to support that you're actually going to achieve that goal.
Karen, we would love to help people find and reach their goals.
We would. It's part of what we do. And I will say, it's not the quick and easy version you want. It's not the quick fix. But what we do, it is effective and it's transformative, and it changes the way that you operate in life as you set and create and achieve your goals.
That's really great. It's great to be here with everybody this week. It's great to be here with you, Karen.
Thank you.
Happy New Year's once again, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Catholic Midlife Podcast. It's great to be here with you. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite app or platform. Leave a review. That's so helpful so that others like you can find the podcast. And be sure to tell your friends. We'll see you next week.